Hello friends, this is Mr. Clemens and today we are going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be doing our mental math, as some of you may know it, or as some other third grade teachers call it, our morning routines or math routines. We usually did this before we got into our math lesson for the day. So we're going to be doing a mixture of things, so I'm looking forward to reviewing those key points that we anchored in when we first taught those things. So let's look at our first one. All right, so this is telling time. Very simple. When we started off learning time, this is an analog clock. And if I look at my clock, I know that my shorthand is going to tell me the hour and my longhand is going to tell me the minute. Okay? The big numbers on my clock, I count by fives. The small intervals on my clock, I count by ones. All right? So if I look at the shorthand, that's going to help me determine my hour. I see that the last number that this shorthand passed was the number 1. So I'm still in the 1 o'clock hour. If I look at my longhand or my minute hand, I see that it is on 3. So if I look at my big numbers, I know that my big numbers skip count by 5. I can count 5, 10, 15. So the time is 1:15. All right, still talking about time. Let's read the question. It says John left school at the time below. He walked home for 15 minutes. What time did he get home? All right. Again, we want to re-anchor into this. Our shorthand is going to tell us the hour. Our longhand is going to tell us the minutes. All right. It says at this time John left school. It took him 15 minutes to make it home. If I look at my hour hand, I see that the last big number that the hour passed was 3. So I'm in my 3 o'clock hour. All right. And I also see that I can skip count by fives and go to 6. So if I was to skip count by fives all the way till I got to that 6 on this analog clock, that would be 30. So John left school at 3:30. It took him 15 minutes to get home. All right, so we're trying to figure out what time did he make it home. All right, one strategy you can use, you can add the minutes. I know that 30 plus 15 would give me 45, so that would have been 3:45. Or if you are someone who likes to use the clock, you can look at the clock and you can start at 3:30 because that's the time he left school. And again, the big numbers on your clock, you can skip count by fives. So I can count up 5, 10, 15. So that shows 15 minutes. That represents the 15 minutes it took him to make it home. All right. So if I skip count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Still in that 3 o'clock hour, it would have given me 45 minutes. All right, now this talks about rounding. It says, what is 629 rounded to the nearest hundred? Again, when you look at this number, you're rounding to the nearest hundred. The number is 629. When you're rounding to the nearest hundred, you look at the number in the tens place. All right. Remember, 0 through 4, you're going to round down. 5 through 9, you're going to round up. So if I'm looking at the number in my tens place, that number is 2. Am I going to round down or up? That's right, friends. I'm going to take this number down. So 629 rounded to the nearest hundred. It's going to be rounded down to 600, which will give me the answer choice B. All right. All right, friends, this is one of my favorite problems. This talks about division. I see that the problem that we're given is 24 divided by n equals 6. I'm trying to figure out the value of n. N is my variable. I'm trying to figure out how much does n represent. I see that 24 divided by n equals 6. One strategy that I taught in Lane College that friends really got the concept of, you can roll your 6 until you got to the number 24, and however many fingers you had holding up, once you got to that number, that will have given you your value of that variable. So if I roll my 6s until I got to 24, I will have 4 fingers up, giving me the answer choice of B. Excellent job, friends. Friends, a few weeks ago, I did a review lesson on graphs. So I know that our brains have been anchored into this lesson. So let's look at the title of this. It says apples sold. I see that there are 4 months, January, February, March, and April, and I also see a key at the bottom. That key tells me that one whole apple represents 10 apples, and a half of an apple represents 5 apples. So first thing, before I even solve the question, I want to label my graph. January, I see one whole apple. I know that if I look at my key, that represents 10. February, 40. March, 25. And April, 20. Friends, I was able to label my graph because I paid attention to my key. All right. So let's look at the question. It says, how many more apples were sold in March compared to January? I'll read it again. How many more apples were sold in March compared to January? First, I want you to think about, what mathematical operation am I going to use to solve this equation? Is it going to be addition? Is it going to be subtraction? Is it going to be multiplication? Or is it going to be division? Friends, I want you to work that problem and solve it in the comments. You're going to read the question again, look at the graph, and solve the question in the comments. All right, friends, we have one more week left in the 2019-2020 school year, and I am looking forward to going strong until the end of this school year by implementing these math lessons so that you all can continue to learn and to reprogram your brains throughout the summer, and you can come back at the beginning of the school year and be stronger. All right, friends, I will see you soon.